everyone, Grammie here, and guess what day it is? It's day for chapter 6 of The Secret Window. So, without further ado, let's find out if this chapter is going to change Meg's unfortunate happenings that she experienced in the previous 5. Shall we begin? Chapter 6. Terrible news! That doesn't sound good already. When Meg turned the corner and started up Brookfield Avenue, she saw a moving van in front of her apartment building. The looming shape swept away thoughts about the events at the art museum. Then she saw an unfamiliar green studio couch being carried down the ramp, and she sighed with relief. The van had nothing to do with her family. Someone must be moving into the front apartment on the second floor. Meg walked faster, hoping to see the new neighbors, but there was no one in sight except the movers and a small, skinny boy who stood nearby and watched with a bored expression. Maybe the new tenants would have a baby and need a sitter. Summer vacation was just a few days away, and Meg hoped to find a job. Most of the people she knew asked senior high school girls to sit for them, but a new family might not care so much about age. Meg found Bill and her father in the kitchen frying sausages and making a salad. "Ma has to work late," Bill explained. "She called and said we should eat without her." He looked uncomfortable, and Meg wondered what they had been talking about before she arrived. A moment later, she knew. "This gives the 3 of us a chance to discuss a few things," her father said. "Things your mother and I have already talked over." His face looked thinner than usual and very tired. "I don't want to hear what he has to say," Meg cried silently, but she knew it would be useless to say the words out loud. "This is hard to explain." Her father's deep voice filled the space around her. "But I want you both to understand. The important fact is, my work is getting better right along. I'm sure of it. The comments I get from editors are very encouraging." His voice trembled as he hurried on. "I think I have a very good chance of having a book published before long." Was this what he wanted to talk about? Poetry? "You already have a book," Meg said. "Which I paid to have printed myself." Her father shook his head as if the book had been a foolish mistake. 5 years ago it seemed like a good idea, a way of reaching my audience, but now I can see it was a waste of money. I need the support of a major publisher to get the attention I need." He paused, and Meg knew he was thinking of the unopened cartons of books that were stored in the basement locker. Once in a while her father gave away a copy, but no one ever offered to pay for it. That was when all the arguing between her parents began, when those boxes were moved into the locker. It was right about then that her father quit his job to write all the time. "Anyway, the point is, kids, your mother wants me to give up writing and get a job. I don't blame her," he went on hurriedly. "I don't blame her at all. She's been the money maker in the family for a long time, and it's natural that she should get impatient. She'd like me to give up the whole idea. And the trouble with that is—" Bill dropped the frying pan lid, and Meg jumped. "I can't do it. Writing is my life. It took me a long time to learn that, and now I have to live with it any way I can." Writing is my life. Meg couldn't believe he had said those words. "What about us?" she whispered. "What about Bill and me? What about Mama? Aren't we your life too?" He put out his arms to her, but she stepped back, waiting for his answer. "Of course you are. You mustn't ever doubt that. But I can't be a good father or a husband if I can't write too. At least I need more time to find out how successful I'm going to be." Meg felt sick. How neatly he had it all figured out. How willing he was to let them go. "So what's going to happen?" she asked flatly. "He's going away." Bill was at the stove with his back to them. "I called your Uncle Henry in Marquette this morning. He's going to let me live in the family cottage out at Lake Superior. And he thinks I can get some part-time work around there, helping out the other property owners. It'll be enough for food, and I'll still be able to write most of every day." He stopped, waiting for them to say something, but Meg had no words for what she was feeling. Writing is my life. That's what he told them. Writing was the only thing that mattered. He could sit up there at Uncle Henry's cottage and write his precious poems and stories and feel like a whole person with the bits and pieces of his family scattered behind him. I wish I could make you see this as I do, he said. You feel as if I'm walking out on you, but there's more to it than you know. I wouldn't go if your mother didn't have a good job, even Bill's scholarship. It's a kind of sign that it's okay for me to try this now. He looked pleadingly at his son's rigid back. You'll get along fine. You're great kids. I want to make you proud of me someday, the way I'm proud of you. Let's eat, Bill said. He turned to reach for the bag of rolls on the counter, his face pale. Meg remembered how he'd looked at the firehouse the night before. He'd been the happiest person in the world, and they'd been happy with him. Now the joy was gone. There was nothing left but this, a family falling apart. It was more than Meg could bear. I'm not hungry, she cried, and ran out of the kitchen, out of the apartment. She didn't care where she went, as long as she couldn't hear her father. The moving van was gone from the front of the building, and Brookfield Avenue had settled into its usual dinner-hour calm. It was an old street, a mixture of medium-sized apartment buildings, turn-of-the-century houses, and small businesses. Meg sank down on the top step and looked around. She felt like a different person from the girl who had come home less than half an hour ago. Even the neighborhood, ordinary old Brookfield Avenue, looked strange to her. She wondered if anything would ever be the same. Want a Coke? The husky voice came from overhead. Meg looked up. The skinny boy she'd seen earlier was leaning from a second-floor window and looking down at her with a hopeful expression. Meg wanted to say no, but there was something in the boy's manner that stopped her. No was what he expected to hear. I don't mind, she said stiffly. A smile spread across the thin, freckled face. I'll be down in a minute. Don't go away. If I only could, Meg thought. She waited, staring into the twilight, until the door opened and a bottle of Coke appeared over her shoulder. She turned to say thanks and stared in surprise. Was this the boy she had just seen? Lipstick, pierced ears, a pale pink t-shirt with dark blue letters across the front that read, God answers prayers. Talk to her. Oh, I thought you were a... Meg decided not to say what she thought. I'm Meg Korshak. Wrote a deal. The newcomer sat on the step next to Meg and stretched out her blue-jeaned legs. I know what you were thinking. Everyone teases me about looking like a boy. It's because I'm so flat. The superintendent of the building said, Hi, Sonny, when we moved in. She looked down at herself and sighed. My dad gave me this t-shirt for my 12th birthday. He said I should be proud to be a woman. Maybe I will someday. But right now, I don't care what people think. If I did, I'd let my hair grow long and wear skirts. Ugh. I mean, if you're going to worry about stuff like that, you're not going to have fun at all, right? Meg listened and sipped her Coke. The lipstick and earrings suggested that Rhoda Deal did want the world to know she was a girl. At least she wanted Meg to know. I wasn't sure I should talk to you, Rhoda went on. You looked as if you had something important on your mind. Meg didn't reply for a moment. Then, I live on the 4th floor, she offered. I guess that was you moving in this afternoon. Right. My dad was transferred again. We drove all the way from New York and got here an hour before the moving van. That makes 4 moves in 3 years. We're getting pretty good at timing the trips and packing and unpacking. Meg was impressed. She couldn't remember having lived anywhere except on Brookfield Avenue in Milwaukee. Lucky Rhoda Deal, she thought. Lucky girl whose father loves his family enough to take them along when he moves. What's New York like? Did you see lots of famous people while you lived there? Liza Minnelli once on 3rd Avenue, and Carly Simon in a delicatessen. I think it was Carly Simon. Rhoda frowned, trying to remember. I guess that's all. Oh, Dr. Christian Bernard, the doctor who did the first heart transplants. He gave a talk at the All-City Science Fair last year. I didn't win a prize or anything, but my dad and I went to see the demonstrations. My dad again. This girl talked about her father more than anyone Meg had ever met. My brother Bill did win the prize in the National Science Contest, Meg said, feeling mean. He has a scholarship. Wow! Rhoda sat up and stared at her in open-mouthed excitement. What kind of experiment did he do? Something about energy. Meg already regretted her bragging. A solar energy. I'll introduce you, and he can tell you about it himself. Great! Rhoda leaned back and tipped her coat bottom up. I wish I had a brother, or a sister, or a dog. Just someone who'd be around, you know? It gets kind of lonesome with all this moving. Every new street looks pretty much like all the others to me. I just wake up one morning and realize all my friends are somewhere else. Maybe your folks didn't want any more children, Meg said. She was thinking of something she'd heard her mother say to a friend long ago. Of course, it's very nice to have a boy and a girl, but the second child in our family was strictly an accident. Rhoda nodded. I don't think they wanted even one. Not my mother, anyway. She moved to Los Angeles a long time ago. She had to. Why? To find herself, Rhoda said the words as if they explained everything. She's an assistant to a very important film director. I'm going out there to stay with her for a couple of weeks before school starts next fall. Meg was stunned. How could Rhoda speak so calmly about her mother's leaving? She pictured her father upstairs, maybe packing his clothes this very minute, and her throat ached with the effort to hold back her tears. She stood up. I have to go. Thanks for the Coke. Rhoda looked surprised. What'd I say? She demanded. Did you think I was bragging about my mother's job? I don't care about that. We could talk about something else, she stumbled. Meg felt the tears begin to spill over. I just have some work to do now, homework. Oh, Rhoda continued to look at her. Well, I'll see you later then, huh? Meg hurried inside and ran all the way up to the apartment without stopping. Maybe it was too late for Rhoda and her mother. Rhoda didn't seem to care much anyway, but Meg's father was still at home. She would talk to him, make him change his mind. If they all worked together, maybe they could help him to find himself right here at home. But when Meg let herself into the apartment, her father's bedroom door was closed and his typewriter chattered. She started down the hall, then hesitated. Bill's door was closed too. She looked from one door to the other. If her brother didn't know what to do, what could she possibly say to change her father's mind? She wandered into the living room and looked down at the street. Rhoda Deal was still there on the steps as Meg watched. She leaned back, her Coke bottle clutched in one hand, and Rhoda stuck her tongue out at Brookfield Avenue. Well, I was hoping that Meg may have found some happiness in Chapter 6. But she's not quite there yet. But I have a feeling it might be coming. I hope so anyway. So, until we get together again for Chapter 7 of The Secret Window, Grammie says, ta-ta for now.